So now you get this done. Your guitar's done. Let's say, so this guitar, I'm not doing anything else to. I'm done with. So now we're going to seal this, right? We want it to be gloss. Now you can have a satin finish. You can have a glossy finish. It's up to you, okay? You have to seal this. You can seal it multiple ways. You can spray, you can hand do. I like doing a lot of hand stuff with the kids because it gives them something to do. And they also, with them doing it, sprays, you can say, if you notice the painting, that's pretty much it. I don't like doing too much painting because it's another level of dealing with painting. But so what we have, you can do spray. So you have sprays. Same rules apply as what we did before with, I have my handle. I try to go a can away. I don't go in. You want to be a little bit more careful of drips because that drip will stay. This is like, you can buy, this is like clear coat. This is like from an automotive. So it's like really thick clear coat, a spray lacquer. So you can spray lacquer, you know, that glossiness. You can, this is water-based. I have tons. This is water-based. And this is what I use for my skateboards. They roll this. So the good thing about this is it's water-based, because the non-water-based stuff, they will get the paint on things. They will get this lacquer and stuff on it. If you look on my floor, you will see dripped oil from the True Oil. But if you want, you can do something like this. Spray coat your thing. The key with this is just like I showed you with the spray can, it's no different, but don't get too thick with it. Do it in layers, let it thin. In between, once it's cured, and when I say that, it's dry. This is dry to the touch, is not cured. I could put a coat on this, and by the end of the time we leave, it would be dry. And you go, oh, if I start steel wooling it, I'm embedding steel wool in it because it's really not, it's still soft. Yeah, it's still gummy. If I let it dry and then I walk away, come back the next day, then it's cured. You see, you understand that? Okay. So what I'm trying to do now is get it all coated. In between coats, I take that steel wool. So they've been doing this. I can just, if I do this, you'll see it actually gets dead. It dead colors a little bit. So if I go like this, right, Ella, yours is, you'll see it will deaden the color a little bit. The key is when you're done with this, make sure you don't leave little pieces of it in. You can tack cloth it, or just wipe it off so it's there. That makes sense?
I also, I don't use tack cloth, I use air compressor.
Oh yeah, just yeah. Really just make sure there's no little pieces.
Yeah, the steel wool, if it stays there, any little particle, it will rust.
Yeah.
It could ruin your finish.
Yeah, and you'll see it. Does that make sense? Okay. This is clear lacquer. This is aqua coat again. So this is hand applied, but it's water based. Again, that's why if you notice, I kind of have two layers. I have the non-water based stuff and I have the water based stuff.
So if you go water based and the kids are rolling it out, they can put the brushes back into water.
Yeah, and wash it.
And you can use it again.
Yeah, we use this was acrylic paint that she used to paint with because they can wash it. If we're gonna seal it, it won't matter. Only caveat is if she painted this with acrylic and then we just went and started putting one of these water-based coats on it, it will make it, it will blur it. That's what would happen to my skateboards. But if you take, like with these skateboards, before I do that, so all my kids, these kids here, I took these boards, we went outside, I took a spray and went and just put a sealed coat. Now they're gonna roll everything else. You just got to be very careful with acrylic not to roll it and pull up the acrylic and move it if you're doing water-based acrylic.
So you did a seal coat of
just this stuff on it.
Yeah.
And then now we're in 7th grade now. I just go buy like ketchup dispensers from the dollar, put the water-based stuff in this. They can spray it and then they just roll it. The only thing with this stuff is if you leave a white, if it looks like glue white, it will dry white. But if you roll it out, it'll bubble, but it'll dry clear and you will never see it. That makes sense?
How does that finish hold up, water-based?
I do. It's depending how many coats you do, but it is what it is. You're giving up. Water-based is not quite as good as your lacquers and your oils. Not as strong. But it's the using it. I don't have to worry about cleaning up as much. That's why with skateboards with
And the
six,
box.
yeah, yeah.
It's a lot less.
Yeah. This stuff, you're talking 60, 70, 100, depending where you get this from. I don't recommend buying this on Amazon. I could go to a Aubercon or something because you pay for the shipping and the hazmat stuff. And you can buy smaller stuff. I usually use one of these lasts me almost 2 years with skateboards, and I do 100 something boards. So with guitars, you're never gonna, but does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Lacquer in these, it's like a couple cans. It's depending on how many coats I do. To be honest with the kids, I'm just getting it sealed and
When
then
you do yours, what do you prefer to?
Depending on, I'm gonna show you the hand rub oils. I love the True Oil.
The hand rub oil.
I've done the Danish. This is the new one I've got. I haven't tried it. I think one is open wood or stain versus you're just trying to seal it. And I'm going to talk about these in a second. We good? Yes.
Those ketchup bottles, be careful with them,
Yeah.
because I'm talking from experience.
Yeah.
I had used them to put acrylic paints in.
Yeah.
And if it clogs up here and the kids go to squeeze, these threads are small.
Oh, yeah.
You will have a nuclear explosion of paint. I'm serious.
Oh, yeah.
It'll go 10, 20.
Well,
My
what
whole
I,
room got yellow paint just
Oh,
exploded
really?
everywhere. The girl had it head to toe. It was like
yeah, what they did is this got
Clogged.
clogged and they went, and then
the
it
threads don't hold,
'Cause
and
this-
it'll
explode.
it,
That's, yeah.
it'll worse. I mean, it'll go
I
everywhere.
use this for my poly, so it's a lot thinner. And what I also do is it's like, so I can use it, and we do it for 4 or 5 times, and then I dump it all back in and clean it all out. Because what it is I don't want to constantly be doing that, but I don't leave it long enough to be able to have that happen. But that is an issue. He's right. You gotta be. These are just cheap. I just throw them away when they're that. That's why I got them. I tried other things, but it's just the easiest thing, especially. And I bought a whole bunch of just rollers, just little cheap, tiny, and had like hundreds of these with the foam.
With it
Yeah,
on the foam.
foam. And I just buy really foam roll 50 every year and just use those. Getting kid, and if the cool thing is if you're using water based, they can wash it out and you just get to reuse them. And they won't forget that. You'll come back and they'll leave hardened ones, but then you're only out that much. All right, we good so far? Okay. Last thing, you have hand rubbed oils for it. What this will give you the ability is you have True Oil and you have this Danish oil. Okay. If I'm doing more of a wood thing, I'll probably stay with my Danish oil. You can pick what color because it can be natural or dark or whatever. You're going to hand rub again, gloves. The beauty of this is we don't have to worry about spraying. We're just hand rubbing it. Okay. I'm going to reuse the junk. See how soft this is, the hard part. I'm not going to cut it because I don't want to create this little stuff on it. So what you're going to do is that when we're done, we'll leave it all open and let it dry so that we're not doing this, throwing it in my sawdust because you'll light a fire. Okay. So you do this. The other thing too, you can just wet this too, and then you don't have to worry, it's going to keep it from there. What she's going to do is she's got the True Oil. Let me just open it. I used to buy bigger. I have bigger stuff, but I realize I'm better off to buy smaller ones. So if kids dump it, we only lose this much, not the whole thing. I've had, or what they will do is they will forget to close the lid, and you'll come back and you're like, ding, 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 and the whole thing's hard. If you bust it, there'll always be good underneath. But basically, you're gonna take it, put it on. I'll let you do that. Do it by the camera so they can see it. You're gonna just take it, put it on. You'll get a little bit. Is there any?
Nothing came out.
Keep doing it again. See if it. The last kid might have. I'm trying to use this up here. There we go. All right. So there was a thin layer because they didn't close it tight enough. So see how she gets a little bit on it like that? And now she's just going to rub it. Less is more though. Kids will want to. And they think, oh, I've a lot of gooey. You just want, see how it's shiny now? So she's just going, see how she's wiping it. And then a thin layer, you let it dry. You come back.
Dry time on that.
I usually give it a day.
A day.
Like you could go begin, like sometimes they would come in their homeroom in the morning, come in and do a coat. And then, because they would come in a guitar club that night, they'd come back at guitar club. So from the morning 8 to 3, because then they could do a steel wool or clean it up, or now she's just doing coat after coat. There's a point you don't have to steel wool in between. It's smooth already. You're just doing coat after coat. They throw a coat on. When I had my guitar at home every morning, I'd go out, throw a coat on, let it dry, and then later on the night, I put another coat. This is what they use for like gun stocks and stuff. And every time you see how it gets glossier and glossier, so then it becomes really, really glossed all up.
Why don't you do the guitar as one of your classes?
I do it as a club.
Yeah.
The reason I don't, 8th grade, I'm doing 3D printing is really good. We are now going to have a math class that they build a guitar and do a math class. So that's a high school thing. It becomes two things. It's a price point. I can come up with enough skateboards for all the kids, a guitar kit for every kid. That's quite a jump. So a class of, what's your class is going to be like 10, 20?
The guitar class between 10 and 12.
10 and 12 kids. So I can come up with that. So that's why. I do it as a club too. What I found is I want skin in the game.
So these 10 and 12, are they dropping cash to do that as well?
We budgeted for this one. You sign up for the cash. The club, they drop the cash for, because I find that you want skin in the game. If you give it to them for free, that guitar I just dipped, that blue one, the kid left. That colorful one, that kid left last year. COVID changed kids. I have kids see a bunch of skateboards there. They just left. They didn't care, which was really strange. So, but now when they have skin in the game, they care a little bit more. I'll offer it, but I'd love to do it as a class. Like that's what we're trying to do next year.
I think if you did it math and guitar, now what are the kids doing while they're waiting for the paint to dry? Now
they do it. Yes.
You can do math, guitar, music, and art.
Shocker! We do it all together? No,
What the
blasphemy! The other thing too is, thank you. Okay. The other thing too is so then she just went and did a layer. Do you guys see that? You let it dry. It does offset a little smell, just so you know.
The oil, it leaves a coat on it.
Yep.
It doesn't dry up and you have to continue.
No, it leaves a thin coat. I do want to point out, it will yellow things a little. Like your white's not gonna be quite as vibrant white when you're done. Doesn't matter.
Do you have to use the steel wool on that?
I only do that. So now the first time we do a coat. I do two coats usually. Let it dry, do a coat, let it dry, do a coat. Then we come back and steel wool, clean it all up, come back and do another coat. So I touch it and see how it feels. I will point out, I'm worried about where I'm going to handle it. These necks, you'll find this one is really smooth because that's where I'm making her steel wool in between like multiple times because up here, not so much. Like after once, twice, we don't steel wool this thing up. We just keep oiling. But this is going to get so that it's smooth to run up down with my
steel wool.
Steel wool
every time.
And it's like for 3 or 4. Then I stop and then she's coating. And then it becomes a matter of time. We run out. Okay, like she's ready next class. This has been coated enough. We're going to start to assemble. Like the next session we have together. That's where we're gonna have to put the neck together, put all the stuff together.
What gets you the deeper gloss? Like
more layers.
Or but poly versus oil.
Depending. Some of the epoxies you can get like it looks insanely good. Some of the the epoxy, some of the lacquer is going to be a thicker, because lacquers the spray can get thicker, but it's depending. I can get just as deep with the crude oil if I do layer. That green guitar that's up there, that was spray, but that was also they have a paint booth with a spray gun to get atomized, to get
You can see the shine from
that's where it gets to that next level. Now the last level is we can take these guitars and we can buff them. So that's what they did is they put it on a buffer. I have a buffer over there with some different materials you put on and you can buff it. Yes, you can. There comes a point, this is where I stop because I don't have time to keep going.
Does the Watco harden up the same way as the True Oil?
Yes, it's layers. Everything's a little different. Some stuff I have had more experience than others. I've had more experience with True
over the Danish.
The Danish is the guitar builders like the Danish. And they like the Danish though. I really like the Danish more if I'm going to try to like have wood.
Okay.
Right. And I like the True Oil if I'm covering like paints and stuff of that nature. The other thing too is texture sometimes becomes an issue. Some of these guitars are going to have this is going to have some texture from the paint.
Right.
So we have to build up enough layers so that it becomes smooth on the layer. and we're not sanding off the colors, depending on what you're trying to do with it. Also, like the other thing, what I'll start doing, if I really want a nice coat, I'll pick areas that I know I'm going to be touching and handling, and I'll stop spending a lot of time like in here, like where it's going to get covered. So you can start doing coats, but then you go, oh, I'm doing where you're going to see it, not where, not where it, and it saves you time and stuff. Yeah. You guys get that? Also, open grain is different than closed. These areas have more open grain, so you'll feel the bumping and stuff. So sometimes you have to put more, sucks it in more and stuff. Yeah. By the way, anything you did wrong will show up. That red guitar, when I go to it, I go, oh, there's a big huge dent.
If you're going to ink it, what would you use to finish it? Would you use the poly? Or
Yeah, I've done it either way. The only caveat will be is you have dry paint. So this girl has this pan painted stuff. This is acrylic. We will want to try to be careful when we're coating it, whatever wet we do. If we're rubbing, we might, and this is still a little, it's acrylic, and we start liquefying it again. We take the water-based poly and we start, we'll mute, so we have to be careful. We might dab, let it dry. We might, just really thin.
So would you probably spray it?
We can poly spray it too. That's what I've done with skateboards, depending on which one. Like this girl did this painting. If you muted this, you'd never tell. Right? This one here, see how it's all blotchy anyways? She could run, and he could have run, and you would never tell. Whereas when you start to get details, this was inked, and this is just, this was oil, true oil, right? This is just true oiled. So that's what, see the gloss, and the ink didn't run. It didn't. She did play a little bit with, we took some alcohol to kind of blend it a little bit. We got done, it was all dry, and we went, oh, there's a couple like not quite blended stuff. So she played around with alcohol and diluting it to try it. It worked okay, you think, or not really? Does that make sense? Yeah, we're playing with
When you do
ideas.
it yourself, you see a lot more to it, don't you?
Yeah, and again, YouTube, you can find stuff out on how to do it with YouTube. We comfortable? Is this good? Okay.